All right, it's about time now that we have to we got to a point in the NBA and just sports in general, but I think more so in the NBA where we're talking about these athletes in this era of sports as the softest, most sensitive, the most uncoachable group of athletes in the history of sports. Right? The history of sports across the board. This is not exclusively just the NBA, but we're going to talk about the NBA today because head coach Mike Malone just got fired by the Denver Nuggets right before the postseason, and pretty much without really knowing full details, but his stuff is leaking out. It's pretty much he lost the locker room because he called out his team for not watching film, for doing shit that you're supposed to do as a professional player, making tens, 20s, and 30, and even $40 million a year. The least you could do is do your job and watch film and take your job seriously. And Mike Malone said that they didn't care about the game plan. They were like, not really paying attention. They kind of just tuned him out. Now, Mike Malone and the Nuggets had just won an NBA title not too long ago, right? And so it seems like this team has tuned out Mike Malone. They didn't care. And the Nuggets thought it was so bad that they had to fire him right before the postseason. Right? At this time of the year in April. Not like they would wait till the season's over and go, well, it seems like things ain't working out. Then we part ways. But to do it at this point of the year is kind of crazy. And was it because players? This only happens if your star players went to ownership, meaning whether Nikola Jokic, led by Nikola Jokic, or others close, maybe Jamal Murray or other veteran players that had ownership or front office, ear and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. This needs to happen now. Right? Because who or why else would you just ask a coach on April 8th? Unless it really got some pressure where guys probably were threatening not to even show up. But anyway, regardless of what the situation was, NBA players are professionals, right? Right? They're professionals. They're supposed to be professionals. There's a responsibility that comes with being a professional, especially when you make that kind of money. You can't you got to take your job serious. But it's the era of sensitivity with these athletes, led by LeBron James. He's the leader of this bunch. He set this generation up. I know people are going to say, oh, you're hating on LeBron. Why is LeBron being talked about here? It has nothing to do with LeBron. But yeah, and it kind of does have something to do with LeBron. Because LeBron, this is the LeBron era of the NBA. And LeBron has set the tone with the recruiting and the bouncing around and the coaches being fired. He set the culture for the rest of the league because he's the top guy. Back when Michael was in the league, everybody wanted to be like Mike. Everybody wanted to be like Mike in basketball growing up. Look, this era, guys look up to LeBron. Whether we agree with it or not, we sit here, we joke, and we talk shit about LeBron on the court. He travels, he flops, blah, blah, blah. But the bottom line is this generation of athletes and these basketball players look up to LeBron as the standard of the empowerment of what they want to do. They follow the lead of LeBron James. LeBron James has led this era to become the softest, most sensitive era in league history. Those are just the facts. So, while yes, obviously LeBron is not the reason why Mike Malone got fired, but the culture of today's NBA starts from the top and is led by LeBron James with the players. The whole culture across the board. These athletes are soft, and people are afraid to call it out because they'll say, "Oh, well, you don't play in the NBA. How can you call those guys soft? They would bust your ass. You couldn't even beat the best guy on the bench." We're not questioning the guy's skill set. Of course, we know these players are amongst the best at their profession. Duh. We're talking about their professionalism and their respect for the game of basketball, or the respect for sports, what it used to be about, what sports used to be about. Competitiveness, right? Competing, winning, the attitude of wanting to go out there and get it done. Appreciation for the fans who spend the money, show up to the games. It's like a disconnect now between the fans and the players because of the way the players are acting. They're making way more money than they used to. So it's all about that now. They really don't care. They just don't care. And then now they're treating their coaches like that. There's no reason why a coach should be fired. Look at they said the last 5 or 6 NBA champions got fired and like pretty quickly. I mean, how is that even a thing? Like, that's a league-wide culture. That's a league-wide thing. That's not just, it's just this one guy. Like, every once in a blue moon, like, we've seen coaches get fired after, like, winning Coach of the Year. Like, it happened in previous, decades. Like, a guy, like, I remember Rick Carlisle got fired, and Larry Brown lost his job. But those things were spread out. It wasn't like, I think even Nate McMillan lost his job, probably even Scott Brooks. But those are like 4 things I can think of off the top over like a stretch out of like 20 years. But we got in the last 10 years, we could probably find a handful of coaches that just been getting sniped even after winning NBA titles. Right? So this is the new era of the NBA. And it all because of these athletes are soft. They're soft. And we should be able to say it. I wish more people that have more credibility in the basketball community, like these, whether it be former players or even people who get paid to do this for a living on TV, they need to say it. Now, of course, they won't because they're scared. They know that, they're going to get lose their spot. They can't get scoops, blah, blah, blah. But at some point, we got to stop, catering and collaring these athletes and just call them out for what we see. Like, call it out. They need to be held accountable. Because at some point, the bubble is going to burst. You think fans are going to want to continue to spend hundreds of dollars to go to a game and buy the merch if a team continues to just allow this type of behavior? No. There's going to be a breaking point, folks. It will be a breaking point. And this whole thing is just out of control. Right before the playoffs, I mean, come on. Like, what's going on here? It's just wild. So, look, I know sports, there's no loyalty among sports when it comes to ownership and front office and players. The mobility now for player empowerment, even now on a college level, we see the transfer portal becoming crazy. Players are exercising their right to make money, and that's all good and dandy. But, I mean, to just ask a coach, I mean, even players, even players get a little bit of grace. Like, a player not going to get cut right before the playoffs unless something major happens, like maybe he got arrested or he murdered somebody. I don't know. Like, barring that, he's still going to be around until at least the season ends. But like I said, maybe it was so bad, maybe it got to the point where players threatened not to show up. That's the only thing I can think of, because why else would they just ask Mike Malone like that at this point of the year? And if that's the case, if players threaten not to show up, that's led by the top of your franchise. Because while, you think the owners or the GMs listen to the fucking 12th man, hey, man, I don't like Malone, man, because he ain't giving me no playing time, man. He holding me accountable. All right, guys, we'll deal with it at the end of the year. So for them to ask him now, it must have been some pressure from the top guys, Jokic and Murray or somebody like that. Must have really put the pressure on. But I don't know. I just think that this ties into the whole narrative of today's athletes being soft. And I've been saying it, and now I feel like I'm vindicated a little bit. Like it's more validation in my claims with this. It's beyond like just me trolling or just like, trying to be funny. This is legit. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The evidence is there. The evidence is there. Let me know what you guys think about this. And is this a bigger issue among sports, or is this just an NBA thing, or is this not a big deal? Mike Malone got fired, big deal. No, players are not soft. I don't know. Maybe you guys think differently. Maybe you guys believe that this is the best ever in league history. I disagree, and I would take that to the grave. This is the worst ever. This is the worst era in NBA history, and it's looking like the worst era in sports history when it comes to sports altogether. But let me know what you think.